Okay, example 15.16. This is a purely resistive circuit. Input voltage is E equals 120 volt with an angle of 20 degrees. Frequency is 60 hertz. There's a resistor that's 18 ohms. So we're looking for V sub R across it, the current through the circuit, I, and then there's a capacitor of 91 microfarads, and there's a voltage drop across it. First step is, what is the total impedance? Z sub T is going to be R minus J X sub C equals 18 minus J, and the formula for X sub C is 1 over 2 pi FC, because we're given F and C here. So putting in 60 for F, 91 times 10 to the negative 6 for C, we do the math, and it equals 18 minus J, 29.15. These are both in ohms. I should say 18 ohms minus J, 29.15 ohms. So here I drew the impedance diagram of the capacitor. It has an angle of negative 90, and the value is 29.15. That's the magnitude. So the impedance diagram is Z equals the square root of R squared plus X sub C squared. Putting both of those values in there, I get Z equals magnitude of 34.26. I drew my impedance diagram over here from this rectangular form, 18 on the real axis, 29.15 on the J-axis, it's negative. So here is my vector, here's my angle, so I know it's going to be a negative angle. I calculate the angle by theta equals inverse tangent of the absolute value of X over R equals the inverse tangent of 29.15 divided by 18. It doesn't matter if you put a negative in here or not because it's absolute value. When you do that math, it ends up being 58.30, and it's going to be negative. This is going to yield a positive result, but we know it's negative because of how we drew it from this rectangular form. So, part C asks for the current I through the circuit. The current is going to be just like you did it before. Ohm's law. I equals E divided by the total impedance. E is 120 angle 20. We calculated Z sub T as 34.26 with an angle of minus 58.30. 120 divided by 34.26 equals 3.5. with an angle of 20 minus a minus 58, which is like plus a plus. So the current is 3.50 amps with an angle of 78.30 degrees. The next part of C asks for what is the voltage across a resistor in phasor form. That's just going to be V equals IR. We put I in here. R is equal to 18 with an angle of 0. 3.5 times 18 equals 63. The angle is 78.30 plus 0 equals 78.30. And then also it asks for the voltage across the capacitor, which is I times X sub C. Same thing here. X sub C we figured out is 29.15 with an angle of negative 90. So 3.5 times 29.15 equals 102.30 with an angle of 78.30 minus 90 equals minus 11.70.